Hey everybody, welcome to my channel Touchstone. I'm Sage. Today I want to talk to you guys about competition and taking a step back from that into the paradigms, into the philosophy of it. I want to talk about the attitudes that we have or the mentalities that lead us in the long run in life to win and to lose. So I'm talking specifically about what I'm calling the loser mentality and the winner mentality. And starting with the loser mentality, it's essentially defined as the need to win, not a desire to win, not making efforts to win, but you need to win. And because you need to win, acknowledging times that you've lost, acknowledging your own fault in it is truly painful because, again, you have this need, right? And feeling that you've lost takes away from that need, and you actually subsist on essentially winning or believing that you've won. So if you have actually lost, you have to blame it on extenuating circumstances, not on your own failures. So you might say, you know, if you're playing a video game or something that, oh, the controller isn't working right, or maybe if it's life in general, you'll say something like, oh, the system is against me because of my gender, because of my race, or maybe you'll say, you know, the rules of this game just, they're stupid, they don't work right. Hey, the only reason why I lost that round is clearly because Russia hacked my board game. Now, I'm not denying that extenuating circumstances do exist. They most certainly do. But if you're going to be looking rationally at all the circumstances surrounding whatever occurred to you, whatever happened to you, one of those circumstances is you, right? You are one of the contributing factors into how you did in whatever it is that you're doing. The loser mentality has the tendency to simply ignore the fact that you are one of those contributing factors, and because of that, you end up not improving. Now, it's even worse when a person with the loser mentality wins, because once again, it's sort of like an addiction, right? You subsist on this idea that you've won, or essentially never lose. So if you win, it's kind of like getting a dose of whatever it is that you're addicted to, so you're just going to be, you know, over the moon happy because, oh, I finally got some, and so on. And in addition to that, because it is competitive, you know, this need of yours, it's more likely you're going to be throwing it in the other person's face. So socially, in the long run, you are going to be losing out because you're going to be turning people away. Of course, nobody likes that kind of a winner, somebody who wins in a very unsportsmanlike fashion. Now, moving on to the winner mentality, what defines the winner's mentality is essentially where your competition lies, is you want to win over yourself. You don't necessarily want to fight a system, you don't want to fight a set of rules, you're not even necessarily trying to compete just with your opponents. You're trying to compete with yourself. You're trying to improve on who you are, your craft, whatever it is that you're doing. So what this means is, when it comes to somebody with a winner mentality losing, because they are primarily trying to improve on themselves, the first thing they're going to look at is, how did I do poorly? What can I improve in myself? Now, that's not to say, again, that extenuating circumstances aren't there, and someone with this mentality will very likely still look at them, but because they are primarily trying to improve on who they are, they're more likely to look at what they did wrong and try to improve on that. Now, when a winner wins, again, because it's going to take this whole process of, you know, developing yourself, actually developing your craft, trying to improve on who you are, you're going to be taking this long time, much longer time, to improve whatever it is you're doing, and that is a very humbling process because it has, you know, it has winning, it has losing, it has competing with people who are better than you, and then you have to learn from that, and you're going to improve and improve. And one other note before I move on with that thought is also when it comes to things that you just are never going to be very good at, if you have the winner mentality, you're going to be much more likely to acknowledge, you know what, I'm just not that very good at this. You know, and you can either give up on that and move on to something else, or you can just enjoy not doing it that well. But, you know, you're going to be reasonable about never trying to be excellent at that thing. You move on. So going back to when winners win, because you've gone, again, through this humbling process, you're more likely to see, for example, say you're competing with somebody who just has not gone through that process. It's very unreasonable to be unsportsmanlike in and of itself, right? Because you have this built-in process and you've you've essentially been humbled a lot. So why would you lord it over somebody who has not gone through that process? It just is fairly unreasonable. Now, of course, there are still people who are just, they don't have a whole lot of character. They haven't learned to be sportsmanlike yet. Yes, but what I'm saying is that the very process of getting to that point is more likely to have humbled you and to have taught you these valuable lessons. So what I'm saying is that, the winner's mentality tends to improve things socially as well. You're going to be more likable because you have this mentality of self-improvement over a need to win. So of course, when it comes to the idea of judgment, going back to the full view of both mentalities, they respond to criticism very differently. So, you say you go to somebody who has the loser's mentality and you try to critique them. Honestly, of course, you're probably trying to help them, you're trying to improve them, so you tell them there might be something wrong with them, there might be something wrong with their skill set. And how are they going to respond to that?
We said that there was Trixie first.
It's kind of like that. So why is it that people with a loser mentality respond like that? Again, it's because it's a need. They subsist on winning. So if you're trying to improve on them by telling them that something is wrong with them, it's like you're taking away their food, right? It's like you're taking away their very sustenance. And people don't respond rationally in cases like that. And what's more, of course, these people do not actually need to win, right? Does anybody have a physical, actual need to win? Of course not. But that's what people in this mentality have worked themselves up to believe, so they respond with aggression. They don't respond with reason. Now, if you critique somebody with a winner mentality, they're more likely to chew on it. Why? Because, again, you're giving them exactly what they need. They want to improve on themselves. So they are going to use what you have said and determine whether or not it is of quality. They're going to chew on it. So if it is of good quality, now they've established more of a relationship with somebody who is useful to them because they're helping them improve. And of course, the person critiquing them is also gratified because they listened. Or on the other hand, if it's critique that is not useful, maybe it's somebody who's trying to pull them down with critique. Well, hopefully, if they're really, consistent with this mentality, they will recognize somebody who's trying to pull them down and cut off that relationship, right? Walk away. Don't allow them to continue trying to pull them down because they're trying to improve on themselves. So, of course, as I brought up this idea of the loser mentality and the winner mentality, obviously I'm going to two wide extremes. So, obviously, very few of us are going to be to absolutely one extreme or the other. I think, of course, it's more likely that there are going to be people on the extreme on the loser mentality side than on the winner mentality side. But all of us should be trying to work from this side to this, of course, if we want to actually win in the long term. So, in conclusion, the loser mentality causes you to lose even when you win, and the winner mentality causes you to win even when you lose. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. This is a very new channel, so there's still a lot of things I have to set up, as well as any technical issues I may need to fix. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, why don't you leave a like? If you want to see more, why don't you subscribe? You can also suggest things that you may want to see me talk about in the future. The only reason why I missed that shot is clearly because of the CIA made the lights flicker.